Iron Man and Gundams. Welcome everybody to Casually Hardcore episode 18. I'm one of your hosts, Brian. Joining me as always is Chris.
Hello.
And welcoming back for the second time on the Casually Hardcore podcast is Larryzaur.
Hello. Thanks for having me.
Oh, we're glad, man. It's last time we talked, I was looking back and I was like, our most viewed and listened to podcast is with you. Like you hold the championship record, and I'm talking about by far. Like it's like, oh, like our podcast, they do good. And then it's like, wow, this is done better than some of our other videos that are just like, here's a 10-minute video. And it's like, nope, like we're talking about anyway. So it was a blast having you on last time. I was really looking forward to, obviously catching up because we haven't seen each other since, Vegas FanFest. Oh gosh, I cannot wait for 2020 already. Like that was such a blast being out there.
I know, it was really cool seeing you guys there too. Like we were in the media seating area and I was next to Drac, and then I looked over and I was like, wait, I know those guys. Like
it's so good.
He's funny in real life. That something would happen on screen and he would make one of his smart comments from a video and I was laughing. I was like, no, the teacher's gonna tell me to stop laughing over here.
Agreed. Yeah. And so it was really cool, especially because the only downside about the media was like that giant crane arm. That's like, I guess it makes sense because we could get here early and wait and not have to sit in the crane arm. But then there's still like, there's Ethos, and they're like, we got Happy down here. It's like everybody, we're like, oh my gosh, this is really fun.
Yeah, it's really cool. The EU area didn't have a crane arm though.
Oh yeah,
they did.
Well, you gotta. We all have to, I guess, take our licks there. But I think this event, like, especially when you look at the previous FanFests, was so smooth. Everyone they've improved, and it was like, well, what's the issue this year? And my only concern is don't have the same issue that you had before, and they crushed it. The experience was phenomenal. But we're bringing you on here to talk about the upcoming FanFest, the Tokyo FanFest, the thing that finalizes pretty much the whole Shadowbringers experience. What are we getting? Are we getting male bunnies? Are we getting Dancer? Are we getting this? All of this we want to know what you're thinking, what your hopes are, what you're expecting, and how you're setting your expectations as we go into just this weekend. Because it's insane to think that we're 3 days out.
It's weird.
But before we dive in kind of to that piece, yesterday, like some big news just happened. And it's the Google Stadia was announced. And so I want to kind of pick your thoughts. Because last time when we had you on, they had the whole IGN plagiarism like scandal.
Yeah, I remember that.
Yeah, it's just insane to think like, and I have not heard of that guy since then.
It just fizzled away.
It's gone. And so with that though, like it seems to be like hot breaking news and topics with Larryzaur. What did you have you seen anything about the Stadia? What's your thoughts on cloud gaming in general?
Well, when I saw that you wrote that in the outline, I was like, what the hell is a Google Stadia? So then I Googled Google Stadia, and it was a white controller that just looked like a cheap PlayStation 4 controller. I'm like, okay. And I guess it's a online service it's going to cloud stream games, like run it on hardware that you don't need the hardware.
Right.
That's cool.
4K, 60
Eventually we get it right.
Yeah, if they get it right.
If you stream to YouTube, it would literally handle all that end for you also. Like from a hardware standpoint, they take care of it.
So I've had a little experience with that is playing PlayStation Now. I'm pretty sure that's how it works. Mm-hmm. And I played it like on the PC. I played Ashura's Wrath on the PC client of PlayStation Now, and I'm pretty sure it's doing the cloud computing for that, or at least streaming it. Mm-hmm. Because I think it does like your graphics card can accelerate it still. But
it's a distributed calculation in how it's handled. So like one of the things that but basically what it does is it offloads a lot of the local processing, so you don't need powerful hardware, but it still has to. Right now it can't 100% because otherwise, like I think they said what Microsoft's shooting for, because they announced last year was their xCloud, is they're shooting to have it at 10 megabits a second, like the minimum Ethernet.
Yeah, you need to have really, really high speeds.
Yeah, and right now it is high because if you want that 60 frames, like you have to render a frame, send it, get the input, send it back, then send it again. So it's like you got to the amount of back and forth is very dramatic and fast. And what Google's trying to do is 4K at 60 frames a second. And if they're able to achieve that, it sounds crazy, but I think it's what I was talking with Chris about. Is like in 5 years, like it might not be crazy. Like in 5 years.
I did a video on it yesterday, and one of the comments was a guy who got to test it. And I guess he's probably had to be pretty quiet until now. And he said that the access for that didn't have a single frame drop. They did have occasional downsampling from like 1080p.
I like the face. I like the face.
YouTube, and that it only required 12 megabits a second.
But it's
but
they have to see it to believe it.
That's also like their perfect network setup too.
Yeah, there's no interference. There was no the moon was perfectly aligned.
The load was the 12 people we invited.
Yeah.
All with gigabit Ethernet. But we could do it on 12.
I think absolutely it will eventually happen, and that's definitely like the way to go. And if somebody's going to do it, I think Google will do it. So I guess this is just like the first step.
It's interesting to see them enter into the space, right? Because you have Twitch, Amazon and Twitch. You have Google and YouTube, and now from the play of gaming, itself, like we're seeing, like Apex Legends drops this year, real competition for Fortnite. Like gaming is getting bigger, and it's not going to slow down. And the fact is, I think that people really see that, and they want to be that of the Netflix of that. They want to have that ingrained. They want that audience. And YouTube gaming, when they announced this year or last time, they're like, oh, we have over 200 million people, which is they said is bigger than Twitch. But then you go look at Twitch's tools.
YouTube gaming.
Yes, YouTube gaming.
That's a site I forgot.
I know, and that's where they showed it. Like if you haven't seen it, like one of the things that I was like, I wonder if this also means beyond Stadia itself, but if YouTube is really trying to try to compete with Twitch, because they're saying in YouTube gaming, whatever, you could have a button and somebody could literally join your game, and they showed people in queue. Like if you were streaming on YouTube, people would be like, oh, let's play with Larryzaur. And you're like, all right. And then they just basically kind of like the old arcade system. You put your token or whatever down and you're in line. And it's like, okay, I'm up next. And,
it's integration into the game itself.
Integration into the game itself.
The next dungeon run is entirely with viewers. And at the end of that dungeon run, they get kicked out and another set joins in.
Right. So like for instance, what I do right now is like I put up a party finder and say, first come, first serve joins. Just put the password in. Instead, it would be you just click a queue and you go into a queue.
You go into a queue. Yeah. And so it is in the sense that I think that it's cool to see them make this play. They have YouTube gaming and they say it's important to them. And this, I'm wondering what else they're looking at doing, because like if anybody's like, where should I stream? And it's like Twitch is really where, if you're a gamer, that's kind of where it makes the most sense. For the tools and where people are looking at, because it's just not ready. Like YouTube gaming is not.
Yeah, I see people do both, but yeah, Twitch is the biggest one, of course. But yeah, I see people do both too. Like, I can't think of names right now, but I'm pretty sure like 2 or 3 people that I follow on YouTube, they just stream only on YouTube and do well.
Yeah, we do a mix of both.
The most common.
We play it.
Yeah,
we play both. This is like Chris might be on YouTube. Way. I'll be on like Twitch or whatever, and we switch it out.
It's also 2 of us, so we can be live at the same time.
Yeah.
That's the best way to do it. Is just split it.
So anyway, I think there's also kind of another thing that could end up happening is that like how MMOs kind of evolved, with that games as a service model. That if we don't ever have to worry about hardware, I don't think it's a 5-year thing, but maybe a 10-year thing in which that like if cloud gaming takes over, like if it becomes the key or the king of it all. Like, what would that, look like within these kind of with these kind of integrations? If Yoshi P and his dev team only had to build for the cloud at that point. You know, again, this is
no
like
PS3 limitations.
No PS3 limit. Well, and then hardware wise, like every expansion, they're like, well, the cloud got stronger, so the game, you know, like we get to take advantage of it. And we don't have to, unless they're like doing a cloud and still physical like hardware supporting. Again, 10 years, I think they would, but I mean, 30 years from now, right? Like these games don't go away. 11's coming up on 20 years, but yeah.
All these logistics of like, oh, now we're switching over to 64-bit for this expansion. Like it would be irrelevant. Like they wouldn't have to worry. They wouldn't have to explain. Yeah, like we're dropping 32-bit or whatever. Like it's not.
We're dropping 64 and bringing in 128-bit. Like you didn't even need to worry about it. Like what? Okay.
Why are you telling me this?
Like all of your clients are running on 10 terabytes of RAM.
Yeah.
You know, like it could mean something really massive. Again, like, you know, long road ahead, but I think
that would help VR a lot.
Oh yeah. Imagine VR. Imagine. Well, anyway, it's a fun topic. It just dropped, so I was curious as your thoughts. So, any other thoughts on Stadia? It is a weird PlayStation Xbox.
I just thought the controller looked really cheap, but it's just a prototype. So
it looks like an Xbox controller.
Xbox and PlayStation, because the sticks are where the PlayStation are, but the buttons are where the Xbox are. So it's like, all right, it's all about the controller for me as a controller fan.
That's how I always was too. Like when I was younger, and like I was always like, oh, you know, system wars, and everybody's always about like, PlayStation, Nintendo, like which one's better. I was always like, oh, I like this controller more. I'm like, well, now it doesn't matter. I just play whatever the game needs.
Yeah, like, you're like, all right, this is good.
System I need for the game.
Precisely.
Yeah.
All right, so let's go ahead and transition. That's actually an easy transition from 14 on in the cloud to Shadowbringers. So obviously we're becoming the Warrior of Darkness. Larry, what are your thoughts there? Like just that realization alone, like from you and your comedy and the like. I am looking forward to how you play that. You know.
Oh, I gotta go Dark Knight main, obviously, but. I don't know. I'm really excited about that. Like story-wise, there's a lot that goes on there that we have no idea. Still, yeah. It's so weird. We're seeing the trailer and we're like, how the hell do we get there? It's very, very different from the past FanFest, the Heavensward expansion trailers and the Stormblood trailers, where we were kind of like be able to just piece it together right from the start. Now we can't do that at all. It's very difficult to piece together how we're gonna get there from where we are right now.
Have you heard the fan theory that this actually a lot of this is taking place in the New World and not in Garlemald?
I've heard a lot of fan theories, and I subscribe to a few of them. I like the shard hopping one, and I also like Speakers of Heidelin has a really cool theory about the Crystal Tower. I really like that. I don't know if you want to go into that.
No, go into it because I like the Crystal Tower. It's like anything that they can do to kind of relate it back, because the Bahamut and the Crystal Tower, I think, were some of the most memorable until Ivalice. Like Ivalice from a raid perspective, I was like, perfect. You know, it's like it's perfect. But yeah, what do they say about the Crystal Tower?
What got people thinking about the Crystal Tower is how in the beginning of the Shadowbringers trailer, when he's going through all his flashbacks and he's holding his head, it's showing all these important scenes. It's showing Bahamut, it's showing Nidhogg, it's showing Heavensward, it's showing all these important things, memorable things that happen. And then it shows Crystal Tower. Like there's like a split second of the Crystal Tower and you're like, why is that there? So people are like, okay, maybe we should look at the Crystal Tower. And they looked back at the cutscenes and they saw Grahatia, which is that cat boy, the Allegan cat boy with the red eyes. At the end, he was saying how the Crystal Tower is too dangerous, so we need to seal it until anybody reaches Allegan's technology level, and then he specifically says you can come in and open the gates.
Throw wide the gates, baby.
Yeah. So that made everybody think, oh, throw wide the gates. He said that back in patch 2.1. And then he was also brought up in Eureka. The Crystal Tower was brought up in Eureka recently in the story, and also Grahatia was brought up, the Catboy. Excellent. So there's just all these things like pointing, like all of a sudden referencing back to Crystal Tower.
Yeah, and you remember how it ended, right? Because they threw that device, and it was kind of just like as it faded out, bleep.
Oh, the beeping thing?
Yeah. Bleep. So it's like obviously we're going to return in some form that's going to have some kind of impact. I like it when those things that we do on the side actively connect in. And that's why one of the things about with Omega, when they announced him and how, and within Heaven's Word, how that kind of concluded with Omega and Shinryu, like I was like, great, there is a connection to what has happened. And that's why it's really interesting and fascinating. We haven't seen the 8-man raid, which we know that we're going to see. We like, for a fact, they said it was not ready to show at Paris. We're going to see it in Tokyo. I hope is that it connects in with the story, that it isn't this, oh, and by the way, Alexander's over here destroying the world, but don't you mind him. He's just hungry for Aether.
That's tough too, because like with Omega, they hyped it beforehand.
Yeah.
And we already knew.
Right.
We already kind of figured like, okay, maybe Omega. Right now, there's nothing that we were hyping unless maybe
Zodiark is the only thing I could think that would be cool. And with the normal and with the Savage, like I just say, just tie in normal to the story. That's my one hope. But then it doesn't matter at the end of the day.
There's no reason why they can't now, because like their whole design philosophy, like back in Realm Reborn, was that they wanted Coil to be kind of separate from the main story quest, although it was essentially wrapping up 1.0, right?
Mm-hmm.
They wanted it to be separate from a Realm Reborn story because it's a raid and not everybody could do it. But now since they have the normal raid, that I don't see why they can't.
I don't think it limits people. Like I think if at anything else, like it's people could experience it. And then I like what they do with Savage, where you have these additional phases. You have like okay,
that was amazing that they did.
The first time they did that was so shocking.
Yeah,
it's like, what's happening? Like, oh no.
How many expansions
got 5 fights
the other way?
Sorry, Chris, can you repeat that? Like it cut off.
So how many expansions do we have to? So if we were the Warrior of Light this whole time, and then now we have to be the Warrior of Darkness, like, are we just X number of expansions from having to go be Warriors of Light again?
Or balance? I think at the end of the day, that would be the ultimate twist, is that if at some point you're like, do you want to be a Warrior of Darkness or a Warrior of Light? We need some kind of balance, in the game. But that's, I mean, geez, Louise, I wouldn't think that until the next calamity.
That's interesting too, because I think some people think that being Warrior of Darkness, like we're being bad, but no, it's just dark aspected Aether, whatever. Like we're not being bad.
It's gonna be neat how it plays out, because if we are the Warriors of Darkness, like, are we somewhat attuned to Zodiark in that regards? Like,
maybe Zodiark isn't bad.
I want to know what the relationship with Zodiark is. I want to know what the relationship of Heidelin and the Echo are. As a 1.0 player, like it's coming up on 9 years this year. I'm just like,
since 1.0 came out?
Yeah, I've been covering this game for 10 years this year at E3. Like,
holy crap.
I know, man, a decade. I had no children back in the day, and it was like, all right, all kinds of time to play. But no, it's insane to see where we've come, and I want some answers. For me, I want Shadowbringers to dive more in the Ascians, dive more into what it means to have the Echo, what it means to this relationship, right? Where like you said, where like I was with Heaven's Word, it was like we could kind of predict. The thing that surprised me about Stormblood was Doma. Like when they said like, "Hey, we're leaving Eorzea, we're going over to Othard." I was like, I didn't see that coming. I was like, that's exciting.
Yeah.
But now it's like I don't know what's next. I just don't. And so I guess a good question kind of for the group, and we'll start with Chris, and then I'll go to Larry, because I want to make sure Larry has time to think about it, as opposed to like, hey, I know I'm asking you, and you're like, what? What quality of life adjustments do we want? Do you want to see in Shadowbringers? And the reason I bring that up is Stormblood brought in so much quality of life. I mean, to think of the fact that I don't have macros for my skills anymore because I level syncing. Like that was like the answer, or otherwise, I got zoned into, it's like a level 16 dungeon. I have to redo all my hotbars just for this. Like, what kind of quality of life adjustments do you want to see? We can go around the horn. So Chris, if you've got one.
I think the first one is like, I have a lot of questions about the rebuilding of Ishgard, and does that make crafters and gatherers more, I'd say the word relevant. Like, I know people have found a way to make them like where there are players who just craft and gather, but like more integrated into the rest of the classes. And if that's the case, can we have a market board rework? the market board and the retainer system in general, there's just so many moments where you go to click on something and you're like, why is this how this works? Like, it's just needlessly complex. So I would love to see the market board take a little bit of a facelift.
Larry?
I think the biggest thing that came to mind right away was all the glamour stuff, the glamour prism stuff, with the glamour dresser. Which they did say that they are working on, but I hope that they do it quicker than later.
Yeah.
They said that they were going to work on the three things, right? The more places to use it, the more plates available, and more items to store. And I want all three of those things. So
a lot of people have said that they want to see those kind of systems brought in. Like, I want more storage, more plates, more easier access to that system. And I think that's definitely a possibility now that we're kicking out 32-bit.
Yeah.
Get out of here.
I think the first thing I would want is the use it everywhere. I think that's what I would say first. But then after that, I want both anyway.
Yeah. I think for me, and this kind of ties into one of the features that they've kind of talked about, and that kind of my idea, New Game Plus, right? I don't know what that is. I have no concept of what that is, but I am really, really wanting some form of like level sync. And when I think about it at the end of the day, the first thing I would love, I think, and I don't know what the difficulty would be, is beyond those two things, is not having to drop party when somebody goes into an instance fight. It's so simple, but it's so annoying. Like, it just ends up being like, oh, I can't join this fight. And like, okay, imagine if they was just like, okay, I would prefer if they could take me with them. Like, if I was helping a friend out, like, let's just go beat up this guy real quick. But if nothing else, like, okay, cool, just do the fight, and I can see that they're still in the fight. Because it ends up being, I don't know, like in voice, where you're like, hey, you done with that fight yet? It's like, no, I keep losing. It's like, oh, okay, well, sorry I asked.
Nice being able to QLM party could be nice. What do you mean level sync, though?
So level sync was actually in 1.0, and we have it as a part of the dungeons and the fates. But in 1.0, like, in the open world, where I could say, let's say I was level, 30, and you guys are both level like 80, and you're like, hey, we're helping Brian run his quests. Like, I'm just running through the world, rather than either having to be forced to buy a jump potion to play with you guys, or essentially say like, oh, you guys are off having fun. Brian, go grind out 100-hour, maybe 120 or 40-hour RPG if I'm watching the cutscenes. And we'll play with you in 3 months when you're finally caught up. That it would be like, you guys could come play and help me out. And then there's, you would say, oh, now you're all level 30. Now, it wouldn't level me up to you. I couldn't level sync up to 80 or whatever. But it would be like, okay, well, we can all play together. And if you had a job that needed XP, then that would be beneficial to you, because then you wouldn't, like in Eureka, like you siphon off XP after the gap gets a certain distance. And that's the same thing that happens right now. Think of the Blue Mage, right? Like, we were all like playing, and it was like, why did we power level? Well, because you were level 10, we were level 40. We couldn't become level 10 again, so we just boosted you up, and then we all grouped up together. And it's just like, oh god, just to have the option to say, oh, like as a group, let's go ahead and level sync. That's what I want.
I think there's another problem with that, with just the game in general, is that if you have a new, like you're saying in the scenario, like you have a new friend that joins the game, right? And you want to play with them.
Correct.
The game is a single player story.
It is.
So like, even if you could level sync, like all you're going to be doing is just
helping them quest,
going on a quest and just go kill these monsters. I'm like, they don't really get much EXP from doing that anyway. Right.
That's where I think if I was just to preempt my next item before we go around the horn, it would be the ability to see what the quests they're on. Because for me, I've run into it as a mentor, as somebody who's helped friends and play together, despite the fact that it is a single player story. If they're coming in to play a multiplayer game, it is isolating and lonely. And it ends up being like, I had a guy take a photo of his UI. Like, take a picture, send it to me. Okay, I see what quest you're on, because it like for us who've maybe done this for a long time.
That's why they added the big one in Stormblood. That's why they added the big one on the top.
That the next like mission quest thing is actually like that was a huge improvement when you think about what Stormblood did. But it ends up being like, how do we have that roadmap? Because if you're joining, like if you're new today and you haven't played an MMO, like how do we and especially if they want me to invite you in, how do we remove those barriers? Because even though it's not like I'm not getting tomes, I'm not advancing, I still have the option. Right now, my option is to create a new character or follow you around outside your party. And neither of those things are what I want. I'd rather just say, let's party up. We can hit fates. We can hit everything on the way. And I'm not siphoning your XP. And we're still adventuring while you catch up on the story as an option. You know, if that makes any kind of sense. The only reason I think that's important is that if somebody said that's going to take 1,000 hours of dev time, I'd say, forget it. It's not that important. But the only reason I say it's important is because it literally exists in the game right now. Right. And it did exist in 1.0. It just doesn't. We don't have the option within the UI to say, I'm going to manually sync and have this zone treated at this level or something like that.
I don't think it's a high priority for them.
Oh, it's definitely not. Yoshi P said it was easy to do. Like, I asked him about it specifically. He's like, yeah. We can definitely do that. And it's like, and then I'm like, and then it's been 2.5 years.
We're not going to, but like we could.
Yeah, totally. Like, come on.
We actually built the Switch and then just don't flip it.
I was about to say they have actually built it for Switch and then we just not release it. Get people's hopes up. All right, Chris, you got another quality of life adjustment that you want to see?
So my first one is something that I absolutely think could and should be in Shadowbringers. If we're going to go back around, I'd love to do one that I just wish we'd see, and it would be some form of replayability for roulettes. So once I've capped all my characters, once I'm capped on tomes, there's no reason to go do them in a week. And so that could either be a bar that fills and gives me like a deep dungeon that has stuff in it, or it could be a chance to be like an M+ system where you take like deep dungeon level affixes and you apply that to dungeons, and you can scale up how many affixes do I want to take on. And the more affixes I take on, then the more little reward treasure chests I get at the end, or something like that. Something to give me a reason that if I play a PvE game to play with other people, then how come there's a cap on the number of things I can do with other people before I have to go either do more single player content or more non-PvE content?
PvP queues. Larry,
I don't do that.
You don't do PvP?
No, because of the queues.
Oh gosh, and that's the thing. It's a self-fulfilling prophecy.
Yeah,
I want a PvP. PvP's a long wait, so I don't PvP. So therefore, PvP's a long wait.
Exactly.
Yeah.
That's my problem. Pet glamours?
Oh,
please?
They said it's coming. Like Yoshi P in an interview.
I don't believe them.
I know. You show me. We've got one.
Prove it.
We've got the one.
I don't believe them at all.
There's also going to be multiple jobs per class. Well,
they've been saying it for 3 years.
It was patch.
Next patch.
It was patch 3.5 that was introduced. So that was, it's insane to think that. Like, we got that at the same time as we got the cross-world party finder.
You guys are just rushing it. We get it every 3.5 patches, 3.5 cycles. So we'll get one for 7.0.
There you go. Now I can finally turn my Ifrit into Ramu if I want to, or Titan.
Alcohol in here.
It's like, oh my gosh. All right. So Larry, you got another quality life adjustment before we start talking about what we know and what we want, or what we hope to see this weekend?
Pet glamours.
Oh yeah. I'm sorry.
No, I think I'm pretty good after the glamours, the
chest glamours and the
chest glamours.
Glamour me, glamour you, glamour my pet.
Yeah.
What about a guild token? It's not tied to Shadowbringers, just as a general concept.
Oh, you guys like that?
I do.
Oh, I do.
Yeah, I've listened to you guys explain it because I had no idea how it works in WoW, and I think it could work. I'd be for it.
I think it was designed from the beginning, because when you look at Krista, we have a premium currency for this game. We just the only way you get it is with cash, and it's not tradable. And it's like I often look back at the Krista, because that's how I when 1.0 launched, I bought 6 months worth of Krista, and then the game went free to play. And then when eventually it came to where you had the sub, so I got the Legacy, I was like, I'm sitting on this Krista for like a year now. I haven't used it. There you go. Here you go, Yoshi P. Didn't cost me anything. I had already spent the money. And I was like, and I'm sitting on 200 Krista, and I was like, man, it'd be cool to do something with that. Like, I'm not going to buy more of it because I have a reduced subscription fee. It's just like, I would love to see some form of that. brought in. It'll be interesting to see.
They could do it, Krista, yeah.
Yoshi P said he was watching how it went with WoW, and if it was good, then he'd use it. So who knows? Like, it's...
And it has been good, right?
Mm-hmm. It's been, I think, good for their economy. I think. For
the Undermine Journal is a website that tracks every single hour over hour, day over day, week over week of every auction house on every server for all of WoW, and you can go back years.
We had one site
for anybody who's like, I feel like it killed my economy, or I feel like it made my economy better. Well, we don't have to ask you how you feel because we have the data.
Right.
It doesn't matter how you feel. It doesn't matter how I feel. There's actual numbers.
Science.
And it didn't affect the market.
Huh.
So
yeah, I don't think it would.
It's I think they have to figure out. I think we have to see what happens with World Visit. There's steps in line that have to happen. They can't just do that because what is Gil used for? Right now, for people who already have a house,
I use a ton of Gil.
Like for glamours,
data center wide auction house
for raids.
I use so much Gil. I raid food pots. When new raid tier come out, I gotta buy the new gear. I gotta buy tons of materia.
And you said before we went live that you don't craft. So how do you make your money?
Raid drops.
Just drop in on raids?
Yeah, for instance, killing an EX primal really early on the first day, you get the drops that they like Shinryu's scale or something. Mm-hmm. You sell those. I just got I think I just got a Shinryu scale recently and it sold for 2 mil.
Okay, that's impressive.
And that's old. So there things like that. Eureka, I make a lot of money with logograms, especially when Baldician Arsenal came out. Clearing Baldician Arsenal early was really, really good because you could sell that stuff for tens of millions of gil. So that was really good. Also retainer ventures.
Yes.
Surprisingly.
The venture system is fantastic. It's let these guys do the work for you. Just go get it once and be done. That's good. All right. I want to jump into the concept of the New Game Plus. We talked a little bit about what we want from the 8-man raid, but we also have the Nier 24-man raid. We have the World Visit system coming here in a month, when the data centers are all getting restructured. We're going to be the Warrior Darkness. We can be bunnies. Are we going to see male bunnies? So there's a lot to unpack. Where do you want to start? Do you want to start with the races or do you want to start with the content? What's your thoughts? Especially because I'm thinking glamour, are you enticed to be a Vieira? Are you hoping for...
No. I mean, I'm people are excited for Vieira, so I'm excited for them. I'm not going to switch because I really like my character. I'm that kind of person where I make the character and I get really attached to them.
Yeah.
So I just want to stay like that. I'll try it out. That's what I did with Al Ra too. I tried out Al Ra, but then I just switched back a week later. I'll try out the Vieira. And I do think the question of if we'll get mail or not, I think I'm going to say that we are. And the only reason why we didn't see it is because it wasn't done yet. That's what I think.
Did you think the model, what they showed off, looked way more visually impressive than what we've seen in the races before? I looked at that and I was like, that just looks like the polygon count's higher or something. It looked sharp. Yeah. I was like, wow. And I don't know if that was
the hair.
Yeah, the hair was impressive.
Yeah, and the facial expressions and stuff was really high. I was like, do that for the other ones, please.
Well, that's what I was like. I wonder if they're gonna be and by the way, everything is getting a nice little. We're gonna go and polish this up a little bit. But I was impressed. I thought visually, I was like, well, I'm like you. I'm attached. The only thing that could get me off of Elf is a lion. If they did whatever the whole I can't even
that leak thing.
Yeah, it not leaked in the sense because it was in the build within the French version.
Right.
So it was hey, here's this other race that's listed. I'm not going to bring up the leaks because I have the leaks bother me in a way that I think that the gift that we give the developers is our surprise. Mm-hmm. When Yoshi P walks on stage and then Blue Mage walks out and it's exciting, but imagine how you would have felt if you had not heard that it was coming. Because all it did was say, oh, that was correct. That was a legit, that just validated that guy for whatever reason and whatever he got out of let me share this information because we're gonna want to eat it up no matter what. Like, what's happening? Like, this is exciting.
We're gonna find out, especially being like a member of the community. Like, we're gonna, like, I can't avoid it. Like, usually I completely try to avoid those types of things, but it's impossible for me to avoid it. So
impossible, and then it's like, okay, well, go ahead and tell me, so at least I can, I at least formulate an opinion about it. But I personally, like, it frustrates me when that stuff happens. There's an exciting part of me, so it's definitely a conflicting feeling. But the gift we give Yoshi P, the gift we give the development team, is them getting to be excited about what they've been busting their butts on for so long, right? And so that's where the leaks kind of like bother me. And so I'm gonna just focus in on what like a bug is different. Like, nope. Like, so it looks like there might be another playable race. I cannot for the love of me pronounce it, so I'm hoping that we can get some audio on it at some point. But if it's a lion type, that exactly I think could pull me off the Elzen.
Well, Hrothgar sounds like a Nordic thing. So what's Nordic?
Well,
I guess a lion.
Lions, not really. I mean, like if you're thinking geographically, but when you think of Vikings and things like that, that could be like, something. Yeah, it's like, oh yeah, we got the beards, we got the, like, or is it some kind of dwarf? Some kind of like.
They did say dwarves.
They're coming. I think dwarves have something to do with the relic. I think essentially, like, I don't know if it's playable, but relic wise, like, hey guys, like, we're gonna craft your new epic weapon of doom.
Oh, that's another thing. I hope for the relic is, I hope. So I like Eureka, but I don't like what it did to that we lost the old type of relic grind, where in Realm Reborn and Heavensward, the relic grind made us go into all the old content, and even the open world for fates and stuff. It just made the entire game feel a lot more healthy. No. Realm Reborn and Heavens.
Right. Meaning that Eureka's instance, it's off there. Like, that's one of the things that Blue Mage was refreshing, because Blue Mage it was so exciting to see people out in the open world. I had a real frustration with, like, I was playing the game, and it's like, I have not seen another player in 3 hours. Like, I was out in the Ruby Sea, and I was like, obviously those are bigger zones, but I was like doing a search, like, are there people in the zone? And it's like, no, they're off in Eureka. And that's where it's like, I want Eureka, but I want it to also exist out in the world, right? Like, if there were pockets of Eureka.
Oh, I would love that. I don't think we're gonna get that, but I would like it.
Sorry, what did you say, Chris?
Yeah.
Can you imagine questing and the train runs by? Like, you're just minding your own business. You're like, wow, I came to the expansion kind of late, so it says kill 6 of these. And then, like, sit down at people.
But doesn't that add to the mystery and the beauty of what makes an MMO special, to where you're going, when do I get to do that? Like, what do I need to do to be a part of what is going on over here? Because that looks fun, Yeah. Oh gosh, the like, how would you fix it? Like, take Eureka, you like it, but you don't like some of it. Obviously what it kind of somewhat did. Like, how do you, Larry, fix in your mind what, like, there's no wrong answers here. So.
Well, I mean, the best way is having just put Eureka in the open world, but they're not going to do that because that's way too big to do. So instead, do a similar thing what they did with this Eureka, and you can progress your relic through Eureka, but also have alternatives to do outside, and maybe it's slower.
Yeah,
maybe doing the Eureka way is much faster, but you can still do, like, let's say the light step. I could do my roulettes and get light that way.
Yeah.
And maybe it's just slower, but I can do it.
Or, and depending on your time, because I 100% couldn't agree more, because if, let's say you're busy, let's say you've got, like, let's say, like, even like Mr. Happy's going out for the Tokyo FanFest. Well, okay, he can't play, but maybe he's out there and he's like, I've got 30 minutes. I can go run a roulette. And then, great. It's not taking me out of Eureka.
You're not committing to a light farm group in Eureka.
Right. And I agree. I don't think it should be as efficient, but there should be some form of translation. Some like, okay, well, yeah, you do your daily this, you go do a couple of fates, and maybe it's at 50%. Who cares? Like, a balance in which that all of a sudden Eureka isn't completely deserted, because it makes sense to, like, no, guys, the most efficient way.
If you want to do it faster, you go Eureka.
Yeah,
or like the crystals. Like in Eureka, you get the crystals, right? So you could be like, okay, the fates in the Stormblood zones can give crystals, but way less than a Notorious Monster does.
What if it like even rotated week to week? You know, it's just like
zone.
Yeah, like they could just like this week these zones are
now. That'd be nice.
It just it would push people into different zones at different times, and like variety is the spice of life. I think that I am so hyped for Shadowbringers based off of what I've seen in Eureka, because the zone design in Eureka, the zone design in Stormblood, amazing. And then they said, oh, by the way, here's Eureka, and it's like, holy crap. So I'm really like what they showed off already in the screenshots for the zones. I'm like, the land of the fairies, the new forest, like, oh my gosh, Raktika, like the music, holy. I'm not gonna cuss. It's that good though that I would on this podcast. I'd be the one to break the rule.
Wait, am I not supposed to curse?
No,
I swear I did already.
No, you didn't. You're good.
Oh, really? Okay.
No. Brian's always the one that breaks it.
I'm like, hey guys,
I'm sorry if I do. I'm really bad. Okay, I'll try not to.
We'll probably foul-mouthed in real life, and Brian's not, and Brian will be the one.
Well, I get it. It all boils up from excitement and passion. It's like, because I had a real problem. Like, for anybody who's not ever like knows in the story, I played college ball. I had a very foul mouth. It was a hard habit to break, and then kind of when I broke it, it's like I don't want to kind of go back to where it's like, especially with kids in the house, like every other word.
Oh yeah.
You know, it's like, okay, trying to be responsible. So it's like, but sometimes the passion and the excitement just boils up within me, and the zone design in Eureka is like, yes. Holy crap.
I think it was incredible. Beautiful.
Beautiful.
I mean, across Stormblood in general, I think the zones were the best they've ever been.
Yeah.
The Eureka zones were absolutely stunning. The open world zones are stunning. My biggest issue with the open world zones is we didn't use them.
Yeah. Eureka, from its even the elemental level, is like our own Paragon system. It's like our own extra system that once you're at level cap, like, yeah, why not running a leveling roulette to get, some form of that, just because if I've only got 15 minutes or 30 minutes, like, okay, I'm going to do this thing and I'm going to get out. And then I feel like I've made some form of meaningful progression. And Eureka didn't offer that. It was like, you're going to make a significant time investment, which is fine. But I think that's where, when they didn't have level sync and all of a sudden, like, I wasn't able to commit to it, and then everybody else got so far ahead of me that it's like, I can go solo this game, or I can go do, what am I going to do? I'm going to go craft and gather if I'm going to solo. Because if they go and say elemental level carries over into Shadowbringers, I would be in Eureka right after this podcast. Like right after.
The question is, how do you balance that? So like on one hand, you want people who come to the game just for Shadowbringers to not be like, well, you didn't play the previous expansions. On the other hand, it'd be nice if it's like, okay, there's this 5-hour quest to get your rod, like, the mold from the dwarves. But if you already have your relic from last expansion, you can just skip that.
They did that in Heavensward and not again in Stormblood.
They didn't do it in Stormblood because I think maybe it's that Eureka was so different that it was like, how do we even translate this? Because there is a story they're telling in Eureka in that zone. So I could see them doing something like that.
It was a big departure. Eureka was a big change.
All right, so let's shift off of Eureka though, because I think we've beaten that horse to death. Like, we know what I think everybody feels like what they want out of it, and people are happy with it, but not satisfied with it to some degree. At one point or the other.
Yeah.
But what would you say about the 24-man raid with Nier? Like, that was so surprising. So Larry, yeah.
Yoko Taro would put story vital to his game behind a level 80 MMO end game subscription based.
And
it's gonna be canon to Nier, and it's gonna be amazing. Have you guys played Nier? Oh, they're saying you're muted.
Oh yeah. All right. That's when I have the kid crying and I mute myself. So yes, thank you guys. Yeah, Brian rocking the podcast, etc. So yes, 5 endings, alphabet letters of junk endings. It's totally on my wish list. I'll let you continue because while Mikey calms down because it's his nap time.
That's fine. So I was just saying that if you haven't played Nier, or if you want to play Nier, like if you know that you're the type of person that really likes story, and you know that, then you should probably play Nier 1 first and then Automata, because like yourself, you're like, I'm just going to get really invested in the story. I'm going to like both of them. But if you're not sure, or if you just want to play one of them, you could just play Automata, and that's enough. But once you play it and you find that you love it, because you will, you should absolutely go back and play Nier 1 because it's super important. And then yes, then you'll be super, super ready, because I have a feeling that Emil is going to be the person that we talk to. That you know how we have the NPC that we interact with to like start the quest and all that stuff. I think that's going to be Emil, which is the iconic moon head, scary mouth guy that Yoko Taro wears. Yeah, I think he's going to be the guy that we talk to.
It's totally going to be some form of glamour too, by the way. Like, you know,
oh yeah,
if they do not give us that option, that's going to be extremely frustrating. Chris, you've seen me play it.
I have,
but it's like I don't know if that's a game that you haven't played.
Well, and just from your description, like if you're super into story, it's like, well, that's not me. Like I am very much the guy that's like, why isn't it letting me skip this cutscene? I pushed escape, I pushed space, I pushed enter. Like,
no, you can't play Nier. Never mind, you're not allowed. You can't play that.
It's just I'm not a story guy. I'm a gameplay. Like I find mechanics interesting. I find like systems interesting. Why does a loot work a certain way? Like what behavior does that encourage, and how does that interact with other systems?
I mean, Automata is Platinum Games, so it's good gameplay also. But
it's so good gameplay. It makes me angry at Final Fantasy 15. Like to a legitimate degree, in which that I'm playing it and I go, wow, imagine if they did something like this within 15.
I was fine with 15.
No, 15 was good. 15 was good, but then when you go and you contract, like if you literally do it, like if you go from 15 to Automata, you're nothing but happy. If you go from Automata to 15, you're going to be a little bit disappointed. And it's just, and it's like where like I felt like Automata was a complete game, complete. Like there is no movie, there is no this, there is no this. And so it's like it's a complete game. But then just the fact that that there's going to be canon tied into 14 as a part of this in some degree, that excites me to no end. That excites me to dive in more, and so that way at least I can speak with it to some level of authority when it actually drops in 14. And that was so freaking shocking that as long as it has that quality of Ivalice, like if they match that quality, you're talking about like 2 amazing expansions for 24-man raids and things that I wouldn't even have imagined possible. Like the thing that I'm now expecting in 6.0, where's my Dragon Quest raid? I'm just gonna say it.
Well, that's what we were joking at first, because when it showed like the first guy, I was like, it can't be Nier. It's probably Dragon Quest, because he worked on Dragon Quest also, right?
Yeah, he did.
I was like, it's not Nier. And then it like did like the sound, like the whole Nier aesthetic. I'm like, holy shit, it's Nier.
Yeah.
and then it shows, then it's getting ready to show Yoko Taro, and it just showed like a split second of his mask, and before it said Yoko Taro, and I was just like, holy crap.
They are it. And the thing is that it's part of the world, but it's also it doesn't, I think, really infringe too much on your experiences. You can go into it if you want, and if you have a problem with it, like just wait an expansion, and who knows what will happen. I love that they did Ivalice. I'm really excited that they're doing Nier. I cannot wait to see what they have in store for us. I think it's going to be insane. I think it's.
They're going to tie in the lore. They're going to be fine.
Oh yeah. I can't wait to figure out how though.
Yeah, right? That's interesting. They could be one theory that I thought was really cool is they're from the same planet as Omega, because Omega was just from some
other area,
civilization, and he just came, and that's how the Alligans like got their like mass surge in technology, was from studying Omega.
Mm-hmm.
Maybe the androids that come and the Yorha is similar to that.
It could easily also it would be neat to see if they tied it into some form of the story that's already happened. Because with Omega, like he's willing into existence these other things. Like he could say like boom, and time doesn't. And you bring in Alexander can do time manipulation. All of a sudden it's like, hey, here's a paradox, and now they're here because something happened and we didn't prevent it, and now this is what's going on. And now we have to worry about how do we resolve this. Go ahead.
What was the story? What was the story tie-in for Rothlos?
I don't think they had one.
There was.
I mean,
they made it
can't just
lore.
drop this stuff.
Yeah. They tied it into the lore. I don't know what it was because I just skimmed through that cutscene because
I was like, cool new fight mechanics. We're gonna kill a dragon. Let's do it.
Yeah.
Those were cool new fight mechanics. Like that
it was
happened to be
very
the
cool.
most like interesting fight that they released over the summer, in my opinion. I really enjoyed that one.
Yeah, that one was cool. But yeah, they definitely added lore for it. They had lore for everything except like Garo. Like there's no lore for Garo.
PvP gear, enjoy it, have fun.
Yeah.
So on that note, because I know Chris is not the main story guy, and so we could sit here and gush about Nier, and he's gonna be like, "All right, this is a fun podcast, guys." World Visit, that's coming really soon. Obviously, I'm happy that it's happening before the expansion, because if it ends up creating some server issues, nobody's gonna want Shadowbringers to be live and you can't log in. So, Larryzaur, what like is World Visit a system that you've been wanting as a content creator and as a streamer? Like, is this something that you're like excited about?
Yeah, doing it on streams would be cool. The first thing I thought of was doing hunts.
Mm-hmm. And maps.
Sorry, not hunts, maps. Yeah.
I think the map system is one of the most engaging things they have content-wise. But as a kind of a creator and a kind of a community member, a visible community member within 14, it ends up being like, okay, you got to be on our server. So we don't do it because typically you can do almost everything else as a group if you open up a party finder, etc.
Right.
But maps is like, sorry, like, you know.
Yeah, and I do it like I'll end up doing one because like I have a bunch of friends in my Twitch chat that are usually on my server, so I can do it sometimes, or they invite me to do it, and it's really fun. And so I'm excited to be able to do that. Just I could be like, oh, everybody come over here, and we can just do maps together.
Mm-hmm.
It's really cool.
Chris, what are you excited about for it? I mean, obviously those are the big two things, but
from a market standpoint, it's really interesting. They could have chose to have it isolate where you receive items as loot, but that you cannot trade with people at all. Like your trade is even turned off. Even if like Brian and I together go visit a server that we just disable trade while we're visiting, they could have had us not able to interact with market boards, but that's not what they did. They said, this is a chance for us to start using it to like inject money into other markets. So when you have high pop servers using it as like a relief tool, those are also typically servers where a lot of money changes hands, and they can go onto these low pop servers and just buy up whatever might be listed because there's not a buyer. So I think that's really intriguing. And I think we're one step closer to being data centers, not servers. And that's where I'd love to see the game go. That's part of what helps with PvP queues and fills the zones, is just putting more players where they have access to each other.
Yeah, I think what I'm excited about with this, and if anybody who was there with us on Stormblood and Robon Extreme, I think with the data centers and with World Visit, this should hopefully help alleviate those types of congestions and issues. Oh, your world is overpopulated and you can't play. Oh, there's another world. Like, look at like the Crystal, right? Crystal's coming up for NA. That's the new data center. That, in my mind, instead of having Balmung as the unofficial roleplay server, Crystal ends up being, here's the roleplay data center. Like, if you're interested in that content, it doesn't matter if you're on Balmung anymore, because you can all hop around and live in this world and live in this roleplay aesthetic. You know, you can go get that house on this one server that nobody has housing now. You can go do these kind of things, and you could like permanently transfer, but you're still not cut off from the community. And cutoffs are maybe too extreme, because with Party Finder you kind of have that ability, but to be able to go and say, all right, we're here, and this is where we're going to live, and I'm going to do my entire main story quest over here. You know, I can go and just do that, and then if I need to, I can just switch back. So beyond making money or anything, I think just the quality of life and hopefully the smoothness of Shadowbringers is felt, in the sense where we really felt some pain points at Stormblood's launch, and sometimes at a patch expansion when you're still waiting to get through a quest NPC because the data centers are too big.
There's another problem that could happen now with the trusts, is those all make their own instances. So hopefully that doesn't cause the issue now.
Yes, that would be.
That's everybody making instances.
Everybody's solo instancing every piece of content.
Yeah, I don't view the trust as being something that we need to gauge if it's good or not on how often it's used in Shadowbringers. What trusts helps do.
Oh no, I'm just talking about on launch week.
Yeah, on launch week it's
breaking it.
Oh, absolutely. But like long term, one of the issues with like ARR Heavensward is that there's nobody to go back and run those dungeons with. So you're relying on leveling roulettes. And if people don't have a reason to do leveling roulettes, you just wait.
Right.
Or you end up getting some community issues in which that I'm expected that I was going to run this roulette in 15 minutes. Why is this taking so long? Because people put expectations on rolling the dice. And if we're all not sitting here rouletting just to get the tomes, just to get the end bonus, and you want to full clear the dungeon, well, sorry, I don't have that kind of time. Depends on the person and the personality. You see all types in roulette, but that solution, I'm wondering if we're going to see, like, when it comes to the trusts, if as time progresses that they further and further backdate that system so that Absolutely. All, as the new player comes in, like when we talked about it earlier, like with level sync, but hey, you're my buddy. Oh yeah, you can go play this whole game as a single player game. Go have fun,
This MMO.
Well, I was talking with Ethis about this when we were out at Vegas, like on the Aether Radio podcast. But it's like I said, like Final Fantasy 14 is a single player game set in an MMO. Like you have MMO stuff, you have raids, you have dungeons, and all that.
Yeah.
But at the end game of it all, that's all option. You could play through the story, take a step back, and and you could just enjoy 14 as a single player game, and we're seeing more of that. I don't think that's a bad thing. I don't think that's an insult to the game. I think that when they think of a theme park, you have a single player component, you have a multiplayer component, you have a raid type component, and we're going to feed all these audiences. And I think that's really challenging to accomplish when you talk about, and you see it in the community. You see it with the Blue Mage, and you see it with some of these aspects like that aren't well received. I think the three hot topics within the community right now are housing, Blue Mage, and I forgot the third one, but I think I just mentioned it earlier. So housing, Blue Mage, and what's up?
Sorry, just anytime somebody can't remember the third one, I always think of Rick Perry.
Oh yeah. I'm not running for president, so I can forget my list of three that I just come off on the top of my head. Anyway, it's just it's just kind of where like I look at the hot buttons, and those are things that it's like, they're not meant to appeal to everybody. It's like not everybody needs to be on board for Blue Mage. Like what's your take on Blue Mage? We haven't talked about it.
I thought it was cool. It's dead for me now, but I thought it was cool when I did it.
Yeah,
it's dead though.
Everything expires, right? Like there's no, like, if there was a way that you could, I don't know, like Chris had an idea, like where, let's say you learned like the fish slap, ability, and you learn it quite frequently. If you learned it like 1,000 times, if you could upgrade it like visually, like if it had its own glamour system, if there was things to do to incentivize it to keep it going, like there would be, like, that would be interesting in my opinion. But it's still
the problem is it doesn't grow with the game. It's grows
always
by itself.
It's always going to be one expansion behind.
Right, but not even regardless of that, it's just, it can't be, I can't use it to go, like any job, I can learn the job and then I can grow with it, and I can learn that job and I can learn all the intricacies and I can take that into content and I can get better at it. And and then it doesn't matter, like they don't need to add anything to the job, they just add content, and then all of a sudden that job essentially gets tons more content. Like every time they add a raid tier, all of a sudden I have 4 new fights to learn Black Mage on, right? Blue Mage, they have to add content for Blue Mage, and that's the problem, is that they shoehorn themselves into, you have to do this, otherwise there's never going to be anything to do for Blue Mage. They have to make it. It's okay. It's okay.
Yeah.
It just comes out of nowhere here in the house. Like, you never know when it's going to happen.
Yeah, that's fine. As long as they do that, as long as they still make the content for the Blue Mage, then yes, it can be good and limited jobs can work. But the fact is they need to do it.
I was disappointed to hear that they're not going to carry it to the current expansion, because I think letting it run in the current expansion would have been really intriguing, because you could have started to have them do things like, we're going to have this wing of a dungeon that has this extra mob back there that there's no reason to kill it other than the fact that it has a Blue Mage ability. And so then you have Blue Mage groups using this dungeon in a different way. But now if they design that, it's like, oh, we're putting in this basic Easter egg that's going to be there for 2 years from now. And so it doesn't make sense to spend a bunch of time putting into, and then where that became interesting in my mind was when we have multiple limited jobs. So now you have a wing that teaches you a blue mage ability, and you have another wing where you can get a pet master thing, you know, a puppet master pet or whatever. And so like dungeons suddenly become more engaging, especially when you talk about having a trust system on top where the blue mages don't have to use Party Finder. They can just take a trust in with them to go learn their ability and just tell the trust like, hey, stop attacking it. Like we want to do its ability. I don't know. I was disappointed to see that they supported it in this way, but I'm not ready to like totally toss it out because they've already said we've finished. We know what all the skills are through the level we're going to let it get to, and you don't have them yet. So I don't feel like I can really judge Blue Mage until we've finished getting the initial serving.
I think it's a job that's built on a lot of potential, and when I see the potential for like Beastmaster, Puppet Master, those are the two examples they gave at FanFest to bring into this, like because it feels very isolated, but then all of a sudden, if there are these other jobs in which that you could build these interesting, different components to attack, you know, these different contents in an interesting way. I think, like you said though. When it expires, when there's no reason to get a single point of experience, when there's no reason to go and learn that skill because you already have, you know, captured it, that's kind of where it hits this hard wall.
It dies.
It just is like, there's nothing for this job anymore. And I would apply that to, like, I would love to see, even though I'd love to see some form of that kind of an additional, like, even if you were leveling, we talked earlier about Eureka, like imagine if you were still able to do Blue Mage but make Eureka progress with light or with this, because the weapon means nothing for Blue Mage, right? So imagine if they're like, well, why do we have this just glamour weapon? Why can't Blue Mage just equip any weapon? And then if you wanted to, you could go and do that. You could go get E experience. You could go and get light from these fates if you wanted to. You know, it's like or you could do these other things to where they were truly this interesting piece of content that then incentivized, like the old Relic grind did, the older content. So yeah, how do we get you into Stormblood, Heaven's Word, and ARR content? Well, here's these limited jobs, but you can use them to also progress your Relic, right? To where all of a sudden that became like, what do I want to do, right? Like I can do this, and there's just some form of value to the player. So it's not a choice. Like, well, I've got everything on this. Why would I bother taking a moment to spend on it? But I'm rather fond of it. I think it shows it's a risk that I'm willing to give them the time to see where they take it. You know?
Yeah. I like the idea, and definitely like with more limited jobs. The other thing is, you know how they made the Mass Carnival for Blue Mage? Mm-hmm. I don't want them to make another, like, just say Mass Carnival 2 for Puppet Master, Mass Carnival 1 for Blue Mage, Mass Carnival 2 for Puppet Master. They don't have anything to do with each other. I want it to be the one thing. This is essentially the limited job carnival, right? It could still be called Mass Carnival, whatever, but all of the limited jobs work with this content. And then you expand that content. So when you do that, it expands what you can do with all the.
It's a good idea. It's not what they do. They always do isolated systems, right? We get chocobos, and then we realize that doesn't do exactly what we want. So we get squadrons, and then that doesn't do what we want. So then we get trusts, and that doesn't do what we want. So like, it's not likely. But
I think that's going to be really bad if they do it like that.
I think
they're going to be dead.
Yeah. My one issue with the Mass Carnival is I wish there was some form of scaling so that you could have at least some of the fights going with friends, so you could kind of have fun with it. Like I would even sacrifice, like if you sacrifice rewards, then nobody would do it anyway. But sometimes it's like, this is okay, like, but it'd be neat. Like, could they have some form of 4-man Blue Man group? You know, just like beating on like this boss and how you want to handle it. I'm hopeful for more. Like I really want to see more out of that, and that's where, like it's such an interesting piece of content because it's like nothing we've had before.
Yeah,
and that's what makes it.
Job is content.
Right, it's content. It's a piece of content, not an actual job in this regards. But on the note of jobs, and we're starting to run into our time, and I want to get Larry off and let him to go have the rest of his morning. What do you expect? Do you expect Dancer? Do you expect some other form of it? What are you feeling in terms of what job reveal are we going to see out at Tokyo?
I mean, everybody's thinking Dancer because of you know what, but I don't think there's anything pointing at it in particular, besides you know what.
Mm-hmm.
So the only thing that I could say is that I do hope it's a healer, because that's what we need. And if it's not a healer for some reason, and if it were to be a DPS for
some reason,
who knows what, it should be a ranged physical, because we only have 2 of those. So that's what I think. I think it's either going to be a healer, which most likely it's going to be dancer healer, or the ranged physical.
The ranged physical, like what kind of weapon do you think? I could see whips being kind of an interesting take, having that range. I want big hammers. Like when I look at what's missing in the game, like I look at it from a weapon perspective, like a giant hammer would be cool. But that obviously would.
I think that would be a tank.
That would be, in my mind, be a tank.
Yeah.
It'd be a heck of a berserker if they made berserker not a tank or something like that. But the
that'd be cool.
So ranged physical, like what weapon would you think that would be?
Ranged physical, something to throw.
Boomerangs.
I don't know. People said like dancer uses chakrams
or fans or something like that.
Like what are those things that Axel uses in Kingdom Hearts? They're chakrams, right?
Yeah. And if you look at Yuffie in Final Fantasy VII, she had that giant,
that kind of thing.
Mm-hmm.
Animation wise, it'd be cool to have like a boomerang type thing, but it's coming back.
Yeah,
you're throwing these things and they're just coming back, and you're.
Oh, you gotta push an action when it comes back and time it.
Gotta catch it.
Otherwise, you
Otherwise, you get like they put like bunny ears, or they find some other like ninja type thing, like wah wah.
Yeah.
Didn't catch a boomerang. That's a horrible Australian accent. So anyway, I do what I do. Chris, what do you think? Like, go ahead, Larry.
Oh, no, go ahead.
I'd love to see another ranged physical, but I really want a healer. First and foremost, and I want a healer that's not like the existing healers. So either lean more into heal over times and let them layer and then make them consumable. Make it a healer that sacrifices maybe some of their own life or something, more of like a blood healer or a close range healer. And those are 3 types of healers that I really don't feel the game serves right now that would make content very interesting. Close range is incredibly intriguing for like how they interact with boss mechanics with everybody else.
I think when we talk about like just that aspect, it would be so, I guess, refreshing to see something that obviously is different. My concern with any new job at this point is that this feels just like White Mage, or this feels just like Astrologia.
We have HOTS now, so like the fact that HOTS exist in the game means that's the one healer that could feel repetitive.
The big thing though is that like one of the things that people, I always say this, I said this with the Stormblood, and I say it with here, is that we're not getting 2 new jobs, we're getting 18 new jobs, because these jobs will all be balanced also as it relates to the other ones. So now instead of balancing 3 tanks against each other, they're going to balance 4 tanks. There's going to be strengths and weaknesses within that, instead of like Trinity within that, that kind of that, I guess, foursome right over there. Like, hey, here you go. Like, how does Gunbreaker.
That's another really big problem.
Yeah.
That they were saying was, because the thing that they said was very worrisome of, if we have 4 tanks, maybe we'll balance it where we have 2 main tanks and 2 off tanks. You just made a meta. Everybody's going to choose the off tanks for raids. You don't want, because the way that they say main tank, I'm pretty sure that they think Paladin is a main tank. It's not. It's an off tank. So in raid. So if they do 2 off tanks, that would probably mean that we would end up just using those off tanks because we just want more damage.
Yeah, that's just when people are going to push as much damage as they possibly can. Like, I don't get why they like the design of the tanks though. I like the philosophy that like just treat a tank as a DPS. Like if everybody, like if that's what we are, like if a tank, then it doesn't, like if they all can just output great numbers, scale the boss and the fights accordingly. Note that that's somebody who has maybe one additional thing. It's hard because you're right. At the end of the day, the raid scene's going to like sit here and say this is what the meta is, and then unfortunately people are like, I really wanted to play Paladin. Well, it's Dark Knight Gunbreaker. Like that's what it is.
It's gonna be Dark Knight Gunbreaker.
That's what it is. Have a good one. Like the last one was Paladin Warrior. This one's this. Like you gotta play multiple jobs in this game. It's like its core design is that like don't get caught by an update and find that you're kicked out. It's like, oh my gosh.
Yeah. On
the healing perspective, as we wrap up before we get into final thoughts, though, when we talked about like just the Blue Mage being a limited job, a lot of things people also ask is they say chemist for healer, right? Like chemist as a design, I could see could fit in the limited job system, because then all of it, like, because in my mind I would say that they'd be using potions. They could use a potion on you. That's an inventory. There's the tax to playing that job, unless for some reason they're doing it, concocting it wise. I mean, they could easily fit it into the main system, but I could see that, like, I could easily see how they could also make it work within the limited from a tactics perspective, because if you have a chemist in tactics, you better have the items in your inventory. That's just my thought. What do you thought, like, on a chemist healer?
I saw, I think it was Happy tweeted this at a friend. He was like, oh, they'll have chemist healer and they'll do ninja mudras to set up their heals. So like it'll be like three different buttons, and you can do a combination, and then that'll set off a heal.
And so nobody in Australia would be able to play that job, just like they can't play ninja. Well, because the ping is too bad. You're like, oh, and then you get like, oh, you actually poisoned me instead of healing me. Like, you wiped us, dude. Like, get out, go play.
Also, I realized about the melee healer. I would like it, but I also realized, thinking about it a little bit more, I don't think we could have that, because the way the fights work in the game right now, a melee healer couldn't work at all. So I don't think they would introduce a melee healer, because then they couldn't go and do those fights that exist right now.
Yeah, unless they did a lot of work. And we'll have to wait and see what kind of amount that is. Chris, do you have any final thoughts?
No, I'm really excited for Shadowbringers. I'm trying to pace myself right now, because I know that we're about to just start sprinting, and that sprint isn't going to end until like this fall. So I don't know what you guys are doing right now. I'm trying to level my crafters and gatherers up a bit, for just in case the Ishgard content is super engaging. I don't want to be looking from the outside. So I don't know what you guys are doing.
You don't want to have to sprint at 80 levels to find out, like, dude, this is awesome.
Which thankfully in ARR, I heavily engaged with all these systems. And so they were all sitting kind of like at that 50 range, but then I just didn't touch them since. So I have a whole bunch that were down at like 50, 51. I think a couple were 49.
Larry, what are you working on? What you got? Final thought?
Mine aren't unlocked.
You didn't even get them for the gear set? You didn't even get them to unlock the gear set. That's impressive.
No, they're dashes. Yeah. The quests are there. I think I might do those though, because the Ishgard thing might be cool. The other thing I really want to know about is Ultimates, because I don't remember when they talked about Ultimate. What?
We're only getting one with the next expansion?
They said
No.
like the two.
No.
One per year?
3, please.
You're hoping for 3, but like they did 2 this time. I was hoping for 3 this time.
Well,
And they pulled
And the panel made it seem like that was exhausting.
The reason they gave made it sound like we could get 3 again, which is we should, because it's incredibly healthy for the game.
Mm-hmm.
It's huge. It was huge,
especially from Twitch. Like, you look at, like, you want to see 14 on top of Twitch stuff.
Yes,
release Ultimate.
People watching,
it's enormous.
Their face.
That's just watching Happy. Like, that's not like, I mean, you're talking about like it is like it brings in more eyeballs than Battle Royale did during that same period.
And it makes the other games go, what is going on with Final Fantasy? So you have people that aren't subscribed.
And it's still entertaining even now, doing the old ones. Yeah. During UCAB and UWU right now is still super entertaining. So it's really, really healthy for the game. So I'm hoping at least 2, but I think we will get 3, because that's things that they said before. The reason why we couldn't get 2 is we'll probably end up getting 3. But I don't remember when they announced Unending Coil of Bahamut. I don't think it was in FanFest. I think it was in a live letter later. So I don't know if we'll hear about Ultimates. Maybe I hope that we do hear that we will be getting one confirmed in 5.1. So
yeah, I think if they can keep up that and really kind of lean into it, like, that's one of the things that was most exciting about it. I was like, it's aspirational content. It's also content that feeds a small part of the player base, but a very important part of the player base, which is the hardcore raider. And it's like, while they represent a small, part of the player base, it's like you still need to have that aspirational content, but it's also serves as aspirational content for everybody playing. Saying, if I work hard enough and I organize, like, this is something I might be able to do. And it's one thing that, like, you know, when you talk about like gear lust, when you talk about that concept that just because like hardcore raiders and hardcore players need the casuals because the casuals make up the greater percentage, but they fund the game. You know, like the percentage of hardcore raiders can't fund 14 the way it is. So you need something that makes the casual people say, I want to work towards that. And then you want something that the hardcore raiders can say like, holy crap, look at me. And then it's like, you know, people, yeah, I mean, that's what it is. You know, when you're talking about like gear and glamour and all of that, like you have that gear lust essentially that drives people to say,
hardcore gear should glow, by the way. And that should not be a glamourable trait. It should only glow if it is the hardcore gear, the actual item, and it is not glamored.
It does glow.
Glow effects in this game.
Which
like crazy glow effects. That way you're like, what is that? But then the moment that gear becomes tossed out for the next piece of hardcore content, they can't take that gear and use it to glamour it on. It's like, no, if you glamour it, it loses the glow. The only way to get the glow
is some punishment.
Crazy best gear, so that when I'm standing around next to like the retainers and stuff, if there's some guy freaking radioactive, it's like
like the new Eureka tank gear plus like one of the ultimate weapons, you're like radioactive right now.
Yeah.
It's glow like a lava lamp.
I think Chris wants like, and then we can all ask for a glow slider because it's like, okay, guys, like that was really cool.
Like we got to scale it back. I can't even see. There's a group of 8 standing near the retainer. I can't see.
It acts as a whole new light source within the game, and you're like,
it's a whole new light source.
Like I can't even see the screen. That's how aspirational. That's so funny.
I won't get it because I'm not a savage raider, but I want to see it.
Yeah.
My goal, Chad saying, my goal is to spread radioactivity now. It actually, it's so intense, it actually damages the boss. Like you can, like it actually helps you progress in hard content because it adds a base level of damage to enemies all around you, just constantly putting out.
Level sneaks down too. I can solo Sastasha entirely with my radioactive glow.
Yeah, but man. Oh gosh,
that is not good for the environment.
Welcome to the Casually Hardcore Podcast, where we break the game. So that, like, yeah. If Larry, where can people find you? What you working on? What you got coming up? I hear you make videos.
Yes, I'm Larryzaur on YouTube and Twitch and Twitter and everywhere that I do stuff. Larryzaur and all those things. Yes,
he'll brighten your day.
I make memes.
He makes memes. Chris, what are you working on? Where can people find you?
I mean, we're streaming every Monday night Final Fantasy right now. That's been something where actually lately it's been Brian and I live at the same time. So one of us will be on YouTube and one of us on Twitch. And I am working on my Crafters and Gatherers. I'm basically working on my Crafters till I run out of money each week, and not working on my Gatherers until money comes back. And then I'm playing WoW through August. That's when my subscription lapses, and I don't know whether or not I'll renew yet. So that's what I've been doing.
And for me, I'm trying to, I guess, we're trying to get a new house and a van. So
and a van.
A new house and a van.
Oh.
No, not down by the river. Like
you're going to live in it?
Nope.
A really big van?
If you, like, we're sitting, like, when we bought this house, we were like, okay, yeah, this is great. It's just Julie and I. And it's like, okay, now it's like, okay, we like could totally use like just another room. Cause obviously like here I work from home. So now it's like, yeah, I hear all this stuff and podcast is a little bit okay. But sometimes then I'm like, okay, I'm in this important business meeting. They're like, Brian, what do you say? It's like, I come in, I'm like, hold on 1 second, guys. Yeah. You don't want to hear this. It is just wailing. I'll answer that in just a second. Sorry, it's just like.
Is the van gonna be the office?
No. We've got ideas. Like we found like a house that's got like it's on an acre, which is crazy for Texas, like in the DFW Metroplex. And we would actually build one. We would build because it needs a like it actually like I was like okay like we got land, we could build a garage and then above that garage like a studio apartment. But that's all like I'm doing right now. Like so, Brian, what are you doing? I'm running numbers to figure out how to be an adult and be responsible and move. So that's what I'm working on. I've also got a couple fun videos that I think people will enjoy, and I've got a video topic that I'm sure is going to it's gonna be interesting. We'll just see a bit of that. It's coming out probably later this week. So
something interesting.
Well, we'll see.
My future upcoming guides are how to make gil so that you can afford to level your crafters, because that's what I'm doing.
That's what he's doing. He's making it. You're making that gil.
I did.
Yeah. All right. All right. That's pretty much, yeah. And then so, woo, Texas crew. That's right. Represent. All right. So for Work to Game, my name is Brian.
My name's Chris.
I'm Larry.
We get it. Thank you guys so much for tuning in. We'll have this podcast for you. You're probably watching this on YouTube, so thanks for being here. But anyway, we will see you next time. Hey guys, it's me, Brian. Thanks so much for watching this video. If you're new here, we hope you hit that subscribe button. Check us out. We talk a lot about video games, and we hope to at least hear from you in the comments below. We also try to respond to our comments. You know, we really appreciate the comments, the discussion, all the various points of view that everybody is so kindly, I guess, and politely or impolitely shares with us from time to time. So anyway, guys, again, thanks for watching this video. We hope you hit that like button. We hope you hit that subscribe button. Come back for more content each and every day. We post a lot around here, and we'd love to hear from you about what you like about video games and everything, and especially if you have any questions that you're stuck on in anything. So anyway, signing off. See you next time.